Happy New Year's, my bookish friends. I hope the year 2024 turns out to be a great reading year for us all. I have some anticipated reads that I'd like to talk to you guys about. I was going to do 6 months and go from January until June, but when I started compiling my list, there's way too many. So I'm only going to do the first 3 months and do January to March. I have 24 books to talk to you about, so let's go ahead and get started. So the first one I want to talk about is First Lie Wins by Ashley Elston. I actually got this in a Book of the Month box and a NetGalley arc, so I will definitely be reading this one soon. This is about a woman, and I don't know if she's supposed to be an assassin or a thief or what she is. It just says that she has a fake identity and she moves to the small town to look after her Mark, named Ryan, but she kind of starts to have romantic feelings for him. But then somebody else shows up in the small town and they have taken on her true identity as their fake identity. So she's trying to figure out why they're there. So this one sounds very interesting. And this one is actually already out. It came out January 2nd. Next, we have The Heiress by Rachel Hawkins. This is coming out January 9th. And I don't know how I feel about Rachel Hawkins. I really like some of her books and not others, but I hear really good things about this one, so I'm very excited. As the title suggests, it's about an heiress, and she has been married 4 different times. And so people start to wonder whether these husbands have died in nefarious ways or if it's really, on the up and up like she claims. And she has an adopted son named Camden, and he doesn't want anything to do with his family. And when his mom passes away, he doesn't want the money, he doesn't want the estate, he doesn't want anything. But then certain events lead to him and his wife moving back to that estate, whether he wants to or not, and he starts to figure out different things about his family and why he was maybe adopted in the first place. And I always like these type of books about wills and family drama and all that. Sometimes they can be a lot of fun, kind of like Knives Out. So I'm excited for this one. Then we have This Wretched Valley by Jennifer Kiefer. I hope I'm saying that last name right. This is coming out January 16th. And this is about a woman who is a rock climber, and she finds this cliff face in Kentucky that apparently no climber has ever been on before. They just discovered it, and she wants to be the first rock climber to be able to climb the face of this cliff. And so she convinces some friends to come with her, but then all of her friends end up dying, and she ends up going missing. So people are trying to figure out what went wrong when they went on this rock climb. Also coming out January 16th is The Fury by Alex Michaelides. And this one I also got in a Book of the Month book box. So this one and The First Lie Wins should be here in the next week or two. So I haven't read The Maidens, but I have read The Silent Patient, and I did like The Silent Patient, but I haven't heard very many good things about The Maidens. I will eventually read it and we'll find out how I feel about it. So The Fury was definitely on my list, but I wouldn't say it was like high on my list. But since I got it in my Book of the Month Club book, then I'll definitely be reading it. So we shall see. Then we have A Place for Vanishing by Anne Frestat. I think that's how you say your last name. I'm totally just guessing. I don't really know, but you can see on the screen what it is. But this was a NetGalley arc for me, and I actually am in the middle of reading it. I'm about halfway through, and I'm actually really enjoying it. I really like it. This is more of a dark fantasy book, so if you like House of Hollows by Crystal Sutherland, or if you liked A House with Good Bones by T. Kingfisher, then I think you would like this one because it's got a lot of the same elements as those two. So it's very intriguing. It's a YA book, and this girl moves into an old creepy house, and she discovers these stained glass windows with these like detachable masks that you can take off and wear. And so it's got the name House of Masks, the house that she lives in, and she's starting to wonder if it's haunted or if something else is going on, because all of a sudden her mom is starting to act a little bit strange. So she meets this boy that lives down the street, and they're going to try and figure out what's going on. I'm enjoying it. I really like it so far. And that one is also coming out January 16th. Then coming out January 23rd, we have The Clinic by Kate Quinn. And this is about a woman whose famous actress sister went into rehab, and then ended up dying. And some people suspect it might be suicide, but she knows that her sister would never do that, even if she was on drugs. And so she decides to go to this rehab and become a patient in order to find out what happened to her sister. So there's a lot of books this year apparently about famous actresses. I actually have a NetGalley arc of this one, so I will be reading this one this month. Also coming out January 23rd is No One Can Know by Kate Alice Marshall. I actually already have a copy of this. This came in my Book of the Month Club box last month for December. So I'm very excited to get to this one. I love the cover. I think it's beautiful, and I haven't read anything by this author yet. So I'm very anxious to read this one. This is about a woman whose parents were murdered when she was a child, and when she's a grown up, she has the opportunity to move back to her family home. And so her two sisters think she's crazy to do this, but she doesn't really have a choice because her husband loses his job and some other stuff happens. And so they're just very financially unstable. So they need a place to go. So when she finds out she inherited this house, well, not finds out, I guess they already knew that they had this house, but of course, none of them wanted to go there because their parents were murdered there. So it's just been sitting there empty. And so now that they're having to face financial ruin potentially, she has no choice but to move back into this house that she had inherited. And so since she's there, all these memories are coming back up from when she was a child, and she's starting to question what she thinks she saw the night that her parents were murdered. And then coming out January 30th, we have Midnight on Beacon Street by Emily Ruth Verona. And I actually have a NetGalley arc of this one as well, so I'm excited to read it. It sounds fun. It's one of these babysitter type stories where the parents leave their children with somebody that they trust, and then somebody ends up dead. Like the babysitter receives threatening phone calls, they have visitors come to the house when there wasn't supposed to be any, and things like that. And so it sounds like a fun time. I really like the movie When a Stranger Calls, and it kind of reminds me of that. And then speaking of Crystal Sutherland, she's actually coming out with a new book, also January 30th, and this one's called The Invocations. And this is about a girl whose sister had died, and she wants to do everything she can to bring her back from the grave. And so she kind of gets involved in the occult and stuff. And then there's another girl who, I guess, sold her soul to a demon. And so she's reaping the consequences of that. And so they both meet this girl who claims to have witchy powers that can help them both out. But, I kind of have my doubts. I think it's going to be a little bit more nefarious that she's not actually doing it to help them. But we shall see. Don't you just love this cover, though? I think it's really cool. And then the last book coming out in January, on January 30th, is The House of Last Resort by Christopher Golden. And I am very excited for this one because I read The Hollows by Christopher Golden on Halloween. Well, not on Halloween, but in October. And I really enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was really good. And so I'm anxious to read some more stuff from this author. And it sounds like it's going to be a haunted house book, which is my favorite. And so there's this woman who is having financial problems. So there's this rich billionaire in Italy who is giving away houses for a single euro. And so they jump on the chance to go to this amazing house in Italy to live. And it sounds like she's going to have her mother-in-law come live with her or something, and she's not very happy about it, but she doesn't care. She's just like, wow, what an amazing opportunity. But of course, it's going to end up being haunted, or it sounds like there's going to be catacombs underneath that is going to be involved. So that sounds very intriguing and very fun, and I'm very excited for this one. Now we're moving on into February. And starting with February 1st, we have We Ate the Dark by Mallory Pearson. This one caught my eye immediately because of the cover. I am always a sucker for covers with cool houses on them. So this, I don't know, I think it might be YA, but I'm not 100% sure on that because it sounds like the characters grew up, so now I don't know. But anyways, this is about a girl who disappeared when she was a teenager, and she was discovered later in the hollow of a tree that had sprung up in the middle of an abandoned house in the middle of the woods. And so now her friends and family are trying to figure out how she got there. Then coming out February 6th, we have The Teacher by Frida McFadden. And this is about a teacher who works at a high school as a math teacher. And there was a scandal that rocked the neighborhood the year before because of a teacher-student relationship. But she thinks there's more going on than meets the eye with the student, so she's trying to figure out what's going on with her. Then February 13th, we have The Hollow Dead by Darcy Coates. And this is a fourth in the series, so I can't really tell you much about what it's going to be about without spoiling things. So I'll just tell you what the series is about, or more specifically, the first book. So this is about Kara, and she can see ghosts, and she has lost her memory. And so she knows she's trying to get away from people that want to hurt her, but she doesn't remember why that they're after her. And she ends up at this cemetery where this priest or person or some kind of cleric is letting her stay on as a caregiver for the cemetery, and she can stay in the groundskeeper cottage. And then she's trying to figure out who she is and where she comes from and why that these people are after her. And she meets the people in this small cute little town, and it's very cozy and very fun. And if you like ghost stories, I think you'll like this series. This is actually the book club pick for the You'll Read Too book club that I'm a part of, so I'm very excited to read this one in February. Also coming out February 13th, we have The Stranger in Her House by John Mars. And this is about a woman who has an ailing mother, and there's some kind of program that's instated where they send people to your house to take care of you. And so Paul gets sent to her house to take care of her mother. Well, she's not really sure how she feels about Paul because she kind of feels like he's a little too nice and is a little bit too kind, and he's a little bit fake, I guess. And so she doesn't like her routine being taken over by this man that she hardly knows and she doesn't feel like she can trust. So I have not read anything by John Myers. I attempted to read The Vacation by him because I had a NetGalley arc, and I had to DNF it because it was very, very boring and I just couldn't get into it. But I hear really good things about John Myers, and I really like the premise of this one, and so I'm excited to give it a try. Then also coming out February 13th, we have What Feasts at Night by T. Kingfisher. And this is the second one in her Sworn Soldier series. So she wrote What Moves the Dead, and this is supposed to be the second one. And I know not everybody enjoyed that book, but I personally really liked it. I really liked the atmosphere, and I kind of like the historical feel to it. I really enjoy that, and I liked that it was about the fall of the House of Usher. So this one doesn't sound like it's anything to do with Edgar Allan Poe this time, but we followed the same characters, and after the events that happened in the first book, they go to one of the characters' log cabin in like the cold north or something. And when they get there, they find that the groundskeeper that was taking care of it is dead, and that everything's in disarray, and there's some kind of like strange silence that has taken over. And so people in the town start whispering about some kind of monster that like steals your breath away or something. So it sounds like it could be interesting. And like I said, I really enjoyed the first one, so I'm excited to see what the second one has to offer. Then February 20th, we have My Throat an Open Grave by Tori Bovalino. I think that's how you say it. And this is another one that caught my eye because of the cover. And then the premise says that it's supposed to be like folklore combined with the movie Labyrinth. So for those of you that grew up watching that movie, it's about this girl who has to babysit her little brother, and he keeps crying and keeps crying. And so she wishes him away to the Lord of the Wood, and he comes and takes him. And so then she looks in his crib, and all that's left is like a bundle of sticks wrapped up with a bow. And so now she's terrified of what her friends and her family and the town are going to think about her for wishing away her brother to the Lord of the Woods. So now she goes on this mission to go find her baby brother and bring him home. So this one sounds fun. Then also February 20th, we have The Guest by B.A. Paris. And this is about a couple that go on vacation, and then when they get back, their mutual friend is at their house. And so they're like, oh, hey, what's going on? And she tells them that she left her husband because he was having an affair. And so they're like, okay, well, you can stay with us for a while until you get on your feet. But she just won't leave. She just stays and stays and stays. And she starts wreaking havoc in their lives and rearranging their furniture and getting into their business and, not being a very good house guest. And they don't know what to do about her. I haven't read anything by this author yet, so I've heard good things, so I'm excited to read something from her. And then coming out February 27th, we have A Haunting in the Arctic by C.J. Cook. And this sounds kind of like a ghost ship or a haunting on a ship. So it's a dual timeline. So you have one timeline in like 1901, and this woman is attacked and brought onto the ship as like a stowaway or something like they. And so that kind of reminds me of the Jackie Faber books. I don't know if you are familiar with those, but anyways, so this woman who was brought onto the ship and is forced to stay because they're out to sea for like weeks on end and they get stuck in the ice over by Iceland and she can't get away and things start to happen on the ship like murder and dark secrets and all of that. So they get trapped on this boat and nobody makes it home. So then in the modern timeline, they discover this ship stuck in the ice in Iceland and they're getting ready to destroy it. But there's an adventurer named Dominique, I think, and she wants to figure out what happened first before anything happens to the boat. She wants to read through the documents and look through the ship to see if she can understand what happened to the people on the ship. And that's when she realizes there might be some type of ghost or force at work on this ship. So this one sounds intriguing. I think for those of you that like The Terror by Dan Simmons or even that new one that just came out, Where the Dead Wait, I think if you like those type of stories, then this one sounds like it's going to be fun. And it sounds like it's a good one to read in the winter because it's going to be plenty cold. The next three books all come out on March 5th, which is the best day of the year because it's my birthday. So first we have Murder Road by Simone St. James, who is quickly becoming one of my favorite authors. I will definitely buy anything she writes at this point. So this is about a couple that's driving along a road at night and they discover a hitchhiker and they decide to let her in. And then as they're driving down the road, they discover that she's bleeding profusely under her jacket and that there's a car following them. So they get her to the hospital where she passes away. And so now the cops want to question them because there's been a lot of murders on the same road recently because they're the only witnesses they've had in like a lot of years. They're trying to discover what is happening on this road and why it's leading to so much murder at this one spot. Then we have The New Couple in 5B, and this is by Lisa Unger. And it's about this couple that move into this new apartment because the husband's uncle passes away and he inherits it. And it's called the Windermere, and it's this really like swanky, luxurious apartment with like a doorman and everything. And so they're very excited to move in, but then the neighbors start being kind of weird and mysterious, and one of them ends up dead. And so it kind of gives me Rosemary's Baby vibes, and I really love that book, so I'm excited to read this one. I've read things that I loved by this author, and then I've read things that were just okay by this author, so I'm intrigued to find out which side this book falls into. And I just love the color scheme for this cover. I think it's very pretty. Then we have The Inconvenient Letter. This is the only romance I have on this list. This is a Regency romance. And Julia Wright is an author that I've read many books from and I really enjoy all of her stories. So this one takes place in Regency times, and this is about a woman who writes these love letters to this man that she's had a crush on for years. And so she just kind of observes him from afar and writes these love letters to him and then locks these letters tied up in a drawer where nobody can see them. But then one day, one of the servants discovers the letters and mistakenly mails them to this man. And so she's freaking out that he's going to read these secret thoughts that she's had about him. But when she goes to get them back, she discovers that his cousin has intercepted the letters. And so he kind of knows what's in them and what they're about. And so he kind of blackmails her in a way. He basically says that you can help me to court your sister and I won't tell him about these letters and I'll help you to catch my cousin's eye. So she's trying to win his love with the help of his cousin whilst helping this man court her sister. So, and obviously I think they're going to end up falling in love with each other, but it just sounds like a lot of fun and I'm very excited for this one. Then coming out March 19th, we have Cursed Cruise. And this is the second one after Cursed Hotel. So this is a YA novel about some amateur sleuths or ghost hunters, I mean. And so they go to this ghost ship where hundreds of passengers have perished, and they're doing their little investigation and putting it on YouTube and stuff. And one of the people in their group ends up missing the first night that they're on this ship. So this is a really short read, and I haven't read the first one yet, but I'm excited to read them both together, and I think it'll be a lot of fun. Then also coming out March 19th, we have Where Sleeping Girls Lie, and I'm not going to attempt to say this author's name because I will just butcher it, but this is about a girl who was always homeschooled, and then she starts going to public school for her last year of high school, and her roommate at this boarding school ends up missing the first night that she's there, and everybody suspects that she had something to do with it. Hi guys, it's me from the future. I just discovered a book today that I wanted to add to the list. So this one is also coming out March 19th, and it's called The Mystery Writer. And as I've said before, I just am a sucker for books about writers and about books. You know, if it has to do with a bookshop or author or a writing retreat or something like that, I'm just a sucker for that kind of stuff. So I just immediately wanted to read this anyways, but it does sound interesting. So this is about a woman who went to school to be a lawyer, but then she decided she wanted to quit and become an author. And so she shows up on her brother's doorstep with just 2 suitcases and half a novel written, and is hoping to stay with him because she's not going to be able to pay a lot of bills while she's pursuing this dream. And so then she has a writing mentor that's trying to help her through this process, and he ends up getting murdered, and the police suspect her brother. So she's trying to figure out what really went on. So I'm looking forward to this one. And then the last book we have on this list coming out March 26th is Diavola. I think that's how you say it. And this is about kind of a wacky family get together. So they're basically, I think it takes place in like Italy or somewhere like that, but they're having a family reunion, and you know how those go. There's always drama, there's always issues, there's always family things going on. But then in the background, it sounds like there's like noises that they hear late at night in the house that they're staying in. And then the town folks start to whisper about rumors about the house. And so it sounds like there's something else going on as well in the background. But hopefully this will be a good time. Sometimes the family drama stuff can be annoying or can go on too long. So I'm hesitantly excited for this one. We'll see how it goes. And that's all I have for you guys. So I hope you found some books to add to your TBR. If you did, I hope that you'll consider hitting the thumbs up and let me know that you liked this video. And consider subscribing. If you hit the notification bell, you'll never miss a video from me. And I will catch you guys later. Bye.